Good evening and welcome to a special edition of Omnibros Live on a Tuesday. What's happening? Why are we live on a Tuesday, Rye?
Because everyone had things going on in their lives and we couldn't do our show when we wanted to.
We were all sick at one time or another. We're on Monday through Friday this week.
I think your dog was sick, I was sick, Gio was sick. And
yeah. It was so we need to make up Monday through Friday this week. So we appreciate everybody watching as we discuss actually whatever you want to discuss. Plus, we're going to map out. Riley's done a lot of work on mapping out future Batman Omnis.
And this was teased like 2 weeks ago or something at this point.
Yeah, and I couldn't share it.
Yeah, so hopefully we have that set. And we have plenty of time, so I can go through everything, do as much as I can in an hour, basically.
And I'm going to try and get I have everything, but I didn't get a chance to put it in order. So I will be putting it in order. I will be showing things in order. I'm looking at them right now to see what, because there's a ton of really good stuff. There's a bunch of stuff that you have uncollected that's in red. And then you have potential omnibus chronology.
So we did go over all that uncollected stuff just to talk about, what's out there not in any paperback or hardcover edition.
Okay.
And then now we can start, because I started going over the first of them, the first of my personal maps. And then we were already like at an hour, and that was also when I was sick. So you're like,
oh yeah,
stop. And I'm like, okay.
Okay, so we already went through New 52 to current. What? Okay, yeah, the New 52 to current. There was like the Scott Snyder Omnibus, Rebirth Deluxe.
Yeah, and all that stuff is all of those are collected. Like every issue of Batman from New 52 forward has been collected in some format, outside of like recent things that just haven't been collected yet. But there's nothing uncollected that is going to remain uncollected. But I do have some like potential maps that I think we could do for collected editions from the New 52 and Rebirth and whatnot.
Potential omnibus chronology. Okay. Now let's see. Let me get here. Nightfall. Okay. So get rid of this one. And I'm going to share the screen. Detective Comics. No, we don't want this one. Oh, and there's Max. Max is still awake. He is in the Netherlands, so he should really be asleep.
I'm still awake also. It's like 7 p.m. for me though, so that makes sense.
I wonder if I'm missing a Snyder Batman Companion.
You're spoiling it, Jess.
Well, I know I have this Rucka. Why don't I share what I have? Let me see if we can do this. Let me share the screenshot I have up and see if that works. Share screen, window, preview. You better show up. Oh, hell.
Is it not working at all?
It's not.
Okay, well, let's go with my backup plan. And what we're going to do is if you can share your browser and just pull up, I'm going to tell you what to pull up. Pull up like the cover for a Batman Contagion collected edition.
Okay.
And I'll talk. I will talk, and then
So what do you want me to search for? Batman Contagion? Well, I have Contagion somewhere.
Well, I want to put the I have Contagion also. When you put the picture up, then it takes up a large portion of the screen, and
Okay.
it makes it more entertainment than just
Okay. Batman
Stop.
Contagion. Images.
Can you calm down?
Okay. This should be easier. It's a Chrome tab. Batman Contagion. Yeah, let's see if we can do that. How's that?
Okay, perfect. All right.
There we go.
The focal point of this show today, as we had mentioned a couple weeks ago, we are going to go ahead and I'm going to be going through my like maps and stuff that I've made, and this is essentially, if you weren't there for the last one, whether you're watching live or not, I mapped out my own ideas of how we could have all of the Batman chronology from Nightfall forward in Omnibus, or at least a deluxe hardcover edition. Directly following Nightfall 1 through 3, we get to an era where it was a little bit hard. I mentioned this before. It was a little hard for me to decide exactly how I wanted to break this down, because this era has Contagion and it also has Legacy, but those events are not really big enough for their own omnibus. Like Contagion is just a single volume, Legacy is two pretty thin volumes, but there's a lot of material around it. So I decided, and I mentioned again this in the last video, to kind of take a note from Marvel with their X-Men collections, where they will use the name of an event or the name of a storyline and build a collection around it that fills the rest of the gap between whatever came before and whatever's coming after. And that's something that you can see from stuff like the Mutant Massacre omnibus, for instance, or like the Shatter Shot hardcover.
I'll be right back. I'm going to get a printed copy of
My stuff that I sent you.
Yeah, so okay. I can look ahead and pull up images of what you're going to talk about.
Okay, I will continue. So
please continue. Yeah.
Started off with, I decided then to do a basically break the material that happens between Nightfall and the Road to No Man's Land omnibus into a Contagion omnibus and a Legacy omnibus. Now, the Contagion omnibus basically would contain everything from directly after Nightfall through the contents of the Contagion paperback itself, the new edition. This would mean Batman 516 to 532, Detective Comics 583 to 696, the Batman Chronicles issue number 4, Shadow of the Bat 48 to 52, as well as Azrael 15 and 16, Batwoman 31 and 32.
Catwoman or Batwoman?
Sorry, Catwoman. If I said Batwoman, I didn't mean to. And Robin 27 through 30. Now, I know, that's not all the issues of Azrael, Catwoman, Robin, etc. Like these it's just the relevant tie-in issues for those, because in other collections you don't really get, as far as the spin-offs and like various series like that, part of the Bat family, but not the main two series. You just get whatever's relevant, and so that's what I'm doing here. That gives us a book that comes out at a total of, unless my math is off, 44 issues, which is a good size for an omnibus. It's not going to be too big. It's not going to be small. And that's my map for a Contagion omnibus. Now, next, we have Legacy. So you want to pull up a Legacy image for us here. So Legacy comes off of Contagion, of course, Legacy Virus, I believe, and all that stuff. This more recently was that's the old edition, and more recently was collected across 2 paperbacks by DC that were more complete, that had more of the tie-ins and stuff. But on top of having Legacy, I decided to also put the stuff that comes after Legacy, but before Road to No Man's Land, leading into the Cataclysm and all that stuff. which essentially boils down to I believe it was issues by Chuck Dixon. I believe that the issues that I'm going to be mentioning here, part of this is like the stuff that was included in the Night Out hardcover that came out a couple years ago. And my list here contains Batman 533 to 552, Detective Comics 697 to 718, Shadow of the Bat 53 to 54, Catwoman 33 to 36, Robin 31 to 33, Batman Bane number 1, and Batman Bane of the Demon 1 through 4. So this one is significantly larger at 56 issues. But 56 issues, while it is a large collection, that's still within the realm of possibilities, especially for DC, who is a little more known for releasing these really fat, like very obese omnibus editions. Like I think the biggest they've done thus far at this point is Justice League Dark, which was well over 1,600 pages. So I don't have any qualm with the idea that they would or would not be able to do that. And what this does is, like, if they do it this way, it provides a title that they can give that means something to people, and so it will attract not just the people who know, oh, this is going to fill that entire gap leading into Road to No Man's Land, but also people who are like, I remember the Legacy storyline, and that's going to pique those interests. Same for Contagion. You're interested because of that title, and it's better than calling it like Batman Road to No Man's Land or something like that. Like something stupid, like Marvel did the Road to War of Kings omnibus. So yeah, like it's better than something like that. So effectively,
hang on. Let me ask a question, because this says my browser has lost connection to my screen share audio. Can you hear me, Riley?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can everybody else out there hear me?
They should be able to.
Can anybody hear me out there in the chat? Just say, yes, we can hear you. Actually, you don't need to try sharing your screen again, restart your browser. If this continues, we head you. I'll take that as a yes. Okay. Thank you.
I think like it's just whatever audio might be coming from like your actual browser. Like if you were sharing YouTube or something, that wouldn't be available. Okay. So we've covered this first gap, and this is one that I really hope gets done soon, because it would really be nice with that second No Man's Land omnibus coming. It would really be nice to have everything between Nightfall and Road to No Man's Land in that same format.
Thank you, Gerard.
That would make me really excited. But this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning of our adventures into my mapping.
Oh, now, yeah. I have 5 pages here.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I'm going to put Chewy in his house because he's all over the place. But so then we have Road to No Man's Land, as well as No Man's Land 1 and 2, the second of which is due out in the near future.
Road to No Man's Land, and then Batman No Man's Land 1 and 2. And is that going to lead you to the next one you want to talk about?
Well, yes. So that brought me to another era that was a little bit different, because now we're in an era that's not populated so much by a specific storyline, but we have specific creators that started on that I think their names would sell these books. First up, Greg Rucka. So Batman New Gotham by Greg Rucka. Recently we had 2 paperbacks. This is one of the new ones. 2 of the new paperbacks that collect this run. And basically these 2, along with some other material, could be combined to form a pretty decent sized omnibus. And I do strongly believe that if they titled this with Greg Rucka on there, that would bring people's attention to the book. This would sell the book. Greg Rucka, his name means something. And this essentially, New Gotham, this is recovering from No Man's Land, would be Detective Comics numbers 742 to 765. This is Rucka's run. I got a hair in my mouth. And then I mentioned this in the last episode that we did talking about this together, Jess. There's the Officer Down crossover that happens in the middle of that run. And the Officer Down crossover actually has a bunch of tie-ins. And these are mostly not written by Rucka, but still I would put that in there for completion. So Batman 587, Robin 86, Birds of Prey 27, Catwoman number 90, Nightwing 53, Detective Comics 754 is the issue of Detective that crosses into this. Batman Gotham Knights number 13 and Batgirl number 12. So all of these together come out to 31 issues. However, you can also add in there, because this doesn't, it happens close to this time. There's another, there's a mini series, Batman and the Huntress, Cry for Blood, 6-issue miniseries that Greg Rucka wrote, and that could be thrown in there. It pads it out to 37 issues, more Rucka material, more Rucka goodness that you could get in there. And I think it could work really well in there. I think I didn't write this here, but I debated you could for true completion, but this happens a little bit later on and it already has its own oversized hardcover. You could also throw in Death in the Maidens, which is a 9-part miniseries that deals with Ra's al Ghul and stuff, and or Ra's al Ghul, and it has a prologue issue in an issue of I forget if it's in Batman or Detective Comics, but that prologue issue plus that would add another 10 issues, which could fit, at the most 41 or at the least 41, at the most 30 or 47 issues total for this omnibus, still making it a good size. And it is by Rucka. It could go in there, but I didn't include it on the map that I wrote out because of the fact that it happens later, whereas like Cry for Blood happens kind of around the same time. It's not too far off from when this stuff was going on. And also because, again, it does have its own oversized hardcover, so it's not necessary, but it would be a decent addition to pad that out. On the other side of the coin here, we have Batman by Ed Brubaker. Ed Brubaker took over on the Batman title around the same time that Rucka took over, and Brubaker's name, if you know.
Nope. Hang on 1 sec.
Get
there
that.
we go.
All right, so there's a issue of Batman that Brubaker did. Brubaker's name, without a doubt, sells.
Mhm.
Brubaker's name, you put that Batman by Ed Brubaker, people are gonna just day one. That is a day one buy for so many people. The people don't even have to have been familiar with the material. They're gonna be like, shit, Ed Brubaker on Batman, a whole omnibus worth, hell yeah. Now this one I treated a little bit differently because I threw everything like and the kitchen sink in here, basically just throwing every bit of Bat material that Batman material that Brubaker did into this book. Now his run on Batman itself was 582 to 586 and then 591 to 598. So he had a few issues where he went away, and I believe it was Paul Bowles that took over for an arc or something like that. The one shot Batman Our Worlds at War, and then there was a miniseries Turning Points, which he wrote 2 issues of. Batman Gotham Adventures 33, Batman Gotham Noir, that's what we're looking at here, number 1. In Batman number, this is later, 758, he did an Oracle co-feature. And then he came on to Detective Comics for 777 to 782 and 784 to 786. I think 783 was that issue of where Greg Rucka took over for the Death in the Maidens prologue. Batman Gotham Knights 41, and then finally the graphic novel Batman the Man Who Laughs as well would be in there, coming out for a total of I think 38 issues is what I got here. So a lot of material by Ed Brubaker. And this again, this I'm mapping it in a way that's different than what I did for Rucka, which was like for Rucka, I was just doing the things that were around that time, like a New Gotham era. But for this one, it's like everything that Brubaker did in one place. Again, because I think that would really sell it to a lot of people to be like, okay, yeah, I'm here for Brubaker. A lot of this stuff is some cool things that I enjoy. I want to read this. It'd be a really good thing to put alongside the Catwoman of East End omnibus that's coming out pretty soon with all of Brubaker's run. So that'd be a nice one to kind of have on there. Now we're moving along to something with a title that I hate. Like I couldn't figure a better way to title this. But next up, the major Bat event around this time would be Bruce Wayne Murderer and Bruce Wayne Fugitive. So I tentatively just put on here Batman Bruce Wayne Murderer / Fugitive Omnibus. I don't know a better way to title it, but of course, combine these two paperbacks that have, the new editions of the paperbacks are more complete into one single book. And those paperbacks are pretty thicky. So they come out to 42 issues total. Batgirl 24, 27, 29, and 33. Batman 599 to 607. Batman Gotham Knights 25 to 32. Batman the 10-Cent Adventure. Birds of Prey 39 to 41, Detective Comics 766 to 775, Nightwing 65 to 69, and Robin 98 and 99. So 42 total issues for this event. And now this one, I maybe they just title it Batman Bruce Wayne Murderer Omnibus and leave off the Fugitive or something. Get something a little more punchy in there. But this is an easy one to kind of. There's a few on here. The next one is an easy one too, but they're easy ones to guess and to map out. Like, it's just combining some paperbacks and stuff. So nothing terribly interesting to say about this one. But
oh, you know what? I'm so sorry, Riley. I need to talk about InStockTrades.com.
Where if these books do ever get made, you'll be able to buy them at deep discounts.
That's right. InStockTrades.com, where you can get your collected editions up to 65% off in like their damages or their spring sale. This week they have 48% off on several new releases. Combined with your 2% loyalty discount makes it 50% off.
It's like the good old days.
Sorry?
It's like back in the good old days.
Right, exactly. At the end of every month, which just happened last night, we give away a $50 gift card courtesy of ISD worth $50 of credit at InStockTrades.com. They are well known for fabulous packaging and fabulous shipping. And if you order $50 or more in the United States, you get free shipping. That's InStockTrades.com. On the last one, I'll do my Led Zeppelin. I have Led Zeppelin on mouth harp that I can do.
Okay. Which track?
I think it's from Led Zeppelin 4, and I think it's 4 Sticks.
Okay.
I can't. Well, I mean, I can do it right now. You can tell me because I get 4. It's not going to California. I'm pretty sure it's 4 Sticks. It goes like this. And then the rest of the song.
I'll take your word for it. It sounded like a mouth harp to me. All right. Well, moving right along on my list.
Are we still talking about murder, or are we going to the next one?
We can go to the next one now. That was an easy one to talk about. I didn't have to defend my map because it's
my map.
It's pretty much a pre-made map at this point. But the next one, War Games. This is also an easy one. The entire War Games saga was combined into a couple of nice thick trade paperbacks more recently, which contain War Drums, War Games Acts 1 through 3, and I believe also the War Crimes kind of aftermath story.
You know what? I only have War Games number 1.
Uh-oh.
I think I have a gap here.
Well, you don't have
between that and Under the Red Hood.
You need to get that War Games book 2.
I need this book 2.
That one, the one that you put up there.
The one I just put up there. Okay, I need to get this.
So this one, easy map again, just combining book 1 and book 2. Detective 790 to 800 and 809 to 810. Batman 631 to 634 and 643 to 644. Robin 126 to 131, Batgirl 53 to 57, Batman Legends of the Dark Knight 182 to 184, Nightwing 96 98, Batman Gotham Knights 56 to 58, Catwoman 34 to 36, Solo number 10, Batman the 12-cent adventure. There was a 2-cent inflation between this and the previous with the 10-cent adventure. Batman Villains, Secret Files and Origins 2005, Batman Heroes, Secret Files and Origins 2005, for a total of 45 issues. I think it's crazy that like 2 paperbacks have 45 issues worth of material in there. Like those were some really massive paperbacks. So yeah, that wraps up like really neatly in a single omnibus edition, like that entire event, which I think would be a really good one to put out there. But this comes to the next book is one that I really, really, really want to have because of all the Batman series, the notable semi-recent like events and stuff or storylines, the one that has never got any sort of like premium format treatment is Under the Red Hood by Judd Winnick. And so Winnick has done a lot more material for Batman, though I'd say more than half of it directly ties into the character of Jason Todd and the Red Hood. And so for this, because Judd Winnick, his name wouldn't sell as heavily as a name like Brubaker or Rucka, in my opinion. As much as I enjoy the majority of his writing, I just don't feel like it would sell that well. So this collection, I would use the Under the Red Hood title, or either use Under the Red Hood or Under the Hood as the title to bring in people's attention. But essentially, this is actually a Judd Winnick omnibus because this includes the entirety of the Under the Red Hood storyline, as well as his previous work on Batman and anything that came after. So that would include the what's the Scarecrow one? As the Crow Flies. It would include the stuff that he did later on in Batman. The what's it called? Long Shadows story arc, which was the first arc of Batman after Dick Grayson came back, or came after Dick Grayson became Batman after the death of Bruce Wayne. He wrote the first like chunk of issues before the book went over to Tony Daniel. So that's Batman issues 626 to 630, 635 to 641, and 645 to 650, and then Batman Annual number 25. He also did the Red Hood: The Lost Days issues 1 through 6, which was telling kind of the story of Jason Todd, how he went from crowbar across the face to being the Red Hood. And I believe that placement of that one, like you could have the actual like Under the Hood storyline play out, and then after that storyline plays out, you then delve into that flashback arc type thing, show how all that stuff happened, and then you move forward into the Long Shadows story arc from Batman 687 to 691. And this, it pushes you into the next era of the Batman books. He also wrote Superman Batman number 76, and then we get Batman and Robin 23 to 25, which is he returns to writing Red Hood in this arc after Morrison's run on Batman and Robin had ended. So you get another little arc returning to Jason, and you can have a little blurb in there talking about what happened earlier in the series when Morrison reintroduced Jason with the new costume that had the cape and all that stuff. And then we get a bunch of just additional material that he's written. Like there's a one-shot Harley and Ivy Love on the Lam. He did the backup feature for Detective Comics 763 to 772, featuring I believe she was a member of the GCPD, Josie Mack, as well as the story from Secret Files and Origins Guide to the DC Universe 2001 to 2002. Batman Gotham Knights 47, he did a story titled Riddle Me This. Batman The Dark Knight Volume 2, Issue 9, that's during the New 52. He came on for just a single issue. And then in the Robin 80th anniversary 100-page spectacular, he did a Red Hood story titled More Time. So all those additional things kind of just thrown in as like bonus material, if you will. But this is one that I would really love to see made in any, like, whether it follows my mapping or not. Like, I would love to see at least the main Red Hood storyline under the hood in a deluxe format, in some sort of oversized hardcover. And throwing in all the other stuff is just padding that makes it worthwhile, in my opinion. Out of all the ones that I'm mentioning, like, this is probably one of the ones that I would want to see the most. Like, I would be the most excited for this to exist. And I'm not a fan of the Red Hood at all. Like, I don't care for Jason Todd, but this storyline was great, and I think it does deserve this treatment. This brings me around to one that, like, I kind of dashed together just because I saw the opportunity for it. Um, but no real other reason. It's not like because I really love these storylines or anything like that, but that's Batman by James Robinson. I realized that James Robinson has enough material to make an omnibus. So Legends of the Dark Knight 32 to 34, at 71 to 73, 85, 100, 102 to 104, 114, and 133 to 136, as well as Legends of the Dark Knight Annual number 7. He had a story called I Am a Gun. Showcase 94, 1 and 2, the King Joker story. Batman, Deadman, Death and Glory. Then Detective Comics number 817 to 820 and 988 to 993. The 817 to 820, I believe, is the face-to-face storyline, as alongside Batman 651 to 654. And that's probably, aside from some of those early Dark Knight, Legends of the Dark Knight stories, the face-to-face is probably what he's most well known for when it comes to Batman. And then 988 to 993 of Detective, I'm positive, I'm like not looking into it again, but I'm pretty positive that is Deface the Face, which was from the Rebirth era on the book. So much later on, he came back and kind of revisited using Two-Face. I'm pretty sure that's what that was, 988 to 993. So that one, like, I'm not stoked about that. It's just like the kind of like catch-all that I was looking through my notes and I'm like, that can happen. Like that could exist. And so I made it. So that brings us then to Paul Dini and Grant Morrison's Omnis, if we're talking chronologically. And then here's another one that, like, just kind of works, but isn't, like, there's not going to be a huge demand for this. But these are some pretty decent stories, I'm going to say. Like, no one really talks about these, but this is Batman Arkham Reborn Deluxe hardcover is what I'm calling this, which is basically just, it's David Hine, his Batman material in one place. David Hine did the Joker's Asylum Two-Face story, but he really, like, in my opinion, his more known, his more recognizable Batman material started with Battle for the Cowl, Arkham Asylum #1. And he started using, what is it, Jeremiah Arkham, and utilizing him as a prominent character in the Batman universe, like, shortly before the New 52 happened. He came back after that for a miniseries titled Arkham Reborn #1 through 3, and then he took over Detective Comics. Um, I think this was between the Batwoman by Rucka era and, like, after that, but before Snyder took over for the Black Mirror. He did a few issues. So Detective Comics 864 and 865, which actually follow up on the story of Arkham Reborn. So with Arkham Asylum, Arkham Reborn 1 through 3, and then Detective Comics 864 to 865, you get a pretty decent little Arkham related story. And then he came back for, he also did 867 to 870, which is actually a story I haven't read, called The Imposters, which was kind of a tie-in to a video game that had come out around that time called Batman Imposters. I think Scott McDaniel, is that the artist name that was on, like, Nightwing? I think that he joined as the artist for that arc. And then Batman Detective Comics Annual 12 and Annual 28, as well as Batman Robin #26, which was the last issue of the pre-New 52 run. The Annual 12 and 28 were like two parts of a story that I think just off the top of my head, I think he wrote the Night Runner story in there, which was like a French, a French Batman, a French Muslim Batman named like Bilal or something like that, which was like a parkour Batman. Anyway, it's kind of a haberdashed collection. It's only 13 issues, but like legitimately half of that is material that is that story, the Arkham Reborn story, which if you've not read it and you have any interest in like Arkham as an entity within Gotham, I recommend it. It's not very talked about and I feel like it's worth looking at and not many people have read it and I feel like maybe a lot of those who have just didn't care much for it, but I thought it was good. I thought it was decent. If this collection doesn't happen, I really don't care. Like whatever, but I put it out there. This next one, now we're delving into the New 52. And this is something that like I DC I could definitely imagine making this because of other things that they've made. But at the same time, like I don't know if it would sell terribly well. There are people who are fans of this run and there are people who are not, and that's going to be Batman by Tony Daniel, which is split kind of in half between his pre-Flashpoint run on Batman, including Battle for the Cowl, as well as the latter half being his Detective Comics run. So in total, Battle for the Cowl 1 through 3, Batman 692 to 699, and 704 to 707, and then 710 to 712. Now the issues in between that, by the way, because I know people are like don't like gaps. 700 to 702 were Morrison, and those were included in one of the Morrison Omnis. 703 is, I believe, by Denny O'Neil, or no, it's by Fabian Nicieza, and it's collected in the Time and the Batman collection. But I'll get back to that issue later. And then 708 and 709 are part of a crossover with Azrael that is actually written by David Hine, but I decided to not put that in that previous book because it's an Azrael story more so than a Batman story. Um, and then, yeah, he writes it until 712, which is the penultimate issue of Batman before New 52 started up. And then during the New 52, he jumped on to Detective Comics and he wrote the first 12 issues as well as the annual. This is a 31 issue collection, pretty decent size. A lot of the artwork within this is going to be by Tony Daniel, and that's going to be the like selling point for a lot of people, is because Tony Daniel is not a great writer, but he is definitely a great artist, in my opinion, at least. And this is going to be really like two major storylines. Number one, it has Battle for the Cowl, which I've discovered in recent years a lot of people are favorable towards. Like, I always felt like that was just a pretty crappy filler storyline that was thrown out there just to give us something to bridge the gap between Bruce Wayne dying and Dick Grayson becoming Batman. And then the second thing being the Detective Comics storyline where the Joker loses his face, is hugely like just kind of iconic for the New 52 era. So moving on to the last book before, like, I mean, I have two more here. One of them is kind of slapped together. Both of these are slapped together. Batman, the Private Casebook Omnibus. And this is one that we mentioned previously because I used the word betwixt.
Betwixt. Here it is.
Um, this omnibus is essentially anything that didn't make it into those other books. There's a bunch of storylines from like uh a bunch of issues, just random issues that we went over the last video that we did. Like we're talking about stuff that's collected and not. And there's a ton of stuff that was like, an issue here, an issue there, written by someone that was not like the ongoing writer. So this is where all the stuff that was not written by Paul Dini that like was skipped around for the Paul Dini book. This is just where all that stuff would go. So I'm just listing the stuff here. Batman 575 to 581. I believe those are by Larry Hama. So that's the biggest chunk of material. And then it pops ahead 588 to 590, which I think that's, sorry, I'm going to go back up and check. Yeah, that's Brian K. Vaughan. So we get some Larry Hama, we get some Brian K. Vaughan, 659 to 662. So we skip ahead quite a bit. 659 to 662 is by, sorry, I'm trying to find the actual issues on my list and who they're written by. 659 to 662 was Grotesque by John Ostrander. So we get some Ostrander in there as well, and that's something that's never been collected before, just like the Larry Hama. That happened around the time when Morrison was writing. So there's like a gap in the Morrison Omnis that of those issues, and so that would go in there. Batman number. So I'm going back down to the bottom. 684. I think that one's Denny O'Neil. 703 was the Fabian Nicieza issue I mentioned, and then 713. I think
I'll be right back.
Okay, I think 713 is also Denny O'Neil. Let me double check before I make a fool of myself. No, it's Fabian Nicieza. I made a fool of myself already. Then we get to the Detective Comics material, 776, 787 to 789, 518 to 516, 825, 829 and 830, 832, 835 and 836, 842, 851 and 866. And the majority of those are around the time that of the Paul Dini omnibus. So those are all those issues. So you get like issue by Paul Bowles, which I had mentioned earlier with the Ed Brubaker stuff. There's Shane McCarthy, Royal McGraw, Stuart Moore, John Rossum, Peter Milligan, and Denny O'Neil. So a lot of names popping up in there. And so it's going to be a book that's obviously like very haberdashed together. And it's something that I don't anticipate ever actually happens. But this is like, that would be my dream way to actually have everything in the preferred format, is just shoving that all into a collected edition that you know that allows that. And it's a lot of stories that, like, because a lot of that material has never been collected before, I think that makes this worth it as well, because you're getting things collected for the first time, and labeling it something like, private casebook. It's evocative. It gets people thinking like, "Ooh, what is in that? What is this book?" And then you populate the cover with a bunch of the well-known names like Larry Hama and especially like Brian K. Vaughan and Peter Milligan, uh, John Ostrander. You use some of the familiar names that are in there to like populate the cover, and people will jump on that a little more likely. That's 32 issues, and the final book here. So I was able to run through everything within the hour. Is the Batman by Scott Snyder companion volume. This is something that, like, there's so much other Snyder Batman stuff that hasn't been collected in an oversized hardcover that I feel deserves that. And so this is everything. So from the Joker 80th anniversary special, we get a story called Scars. And from Detective Comics number 1027, we get a story called As Always. Now, already collected in an oversized hardcover, there is the 5-issue Gates of Gotham miniseries, which came right before the New 52. So he wrote that before he took over on Batman. Batman Rebirth number 1, he did co-write with Tom King, or he wrote it. I forget exactly. So that could be included. Whether or not it is in there, if it's not, I don't care, because obviously it's already in an oversized hardcover with Tom King stuff. He co-wrote alongside James Tynion the first like several issues of the Talon series, 0 through 7. That just got a complete collection style paperback released this week, by the way, that has that entire run. So that first chunk of issues, All-Star Batman number 1 through 14, which is being pictured here. From the Batman 2016 annual number 3, a story called Silent Night. This one might not be able to be included because of the licensing nature of this series, but there's a mini series, Batman in the Shadow number 1 through 6, I believe is co-written with Steve Orlando. They would have to get the license approved for them to include that, since it's a non-DC character that's involved with that. Batman and the Signal, volume 1 through, or issue 1 through 3, that miniseries, expanding on the character of the Signal a little bit, kind of spinning out of the backup features from All-Star Batman. I forget who the co-writer on that one was. I apologize. Batman, The Man Who Laughs 1 through 7. That one's going to be one of the big stars of the show for this one. A lot of people will like to see that one in this format, which we know that it's not in the metal omnibus either. So there's a good place to put it, as well as the Grim Knight one shot. the Dark Multiverse Nightfall storyline. I think that was written with Kyle Higgins as the co-writer. I might be wrong on that one.
Yeah.
1,000 Words from Batman Black and White Volume 3, Number 6, and Batman Fortnite Foundation. And of course, to top it all off, I don't know why I didn't actually write it down, but the entirety of the Black Mirror storyline, which has been collected in hardcover and absolute edition, but never. It also, I think, has one of those noir, like black and white editions, but it's never gotten a deluxe edition. So that's what I think that one's likely. Like, that's something that we could likely see happen because of how big of a name Snyder is, especially with his association to Batman as a character. It's likely that we do see like a Snyder Batman companion or volume 3 to join the other two on the shelf, just collecting everything else. And it's a lot of good material as well. A lot of stuff that, like, not everything is an A plus, but it's a lot of stuff that's really worthwhile having, especially in that kind of format. And that's it. The rest of Batman after that is mostly like, I could go on and I just don't have them mapped out at this point, basically, is where I'm at.
And I have to get going in a couple minutes because I think my dog might be sick again. So
No. Okay.
this would be perfect timing to first of all, that was amazing what you did there. I mean, just your memory and ability to put these things together, I think, is remarkable. And I am going to go to instocktrades.com to get that Talon complete collection because I don't have it. Plus, I need, what do I need? War Games Volume 2?
Yes.
Well, War Games Volume 2. I better write that down. War Games Volume 2.
Not War Games with Ferris Bueller. Not the movie, but the book.
Ferris Bueller.
I forgot Matthew Broderick's name for a second.
Ferris Bueller. So, instocktrades.com, where you can get your books up to 65% off in their spring sale. They've got a ton of damages. You never know what the damages will be like, but those books are heavily discounted in their damaged sale section. The new releases, there are several new releases that are 48% off. And if you pair that with your 2% loyalty discount, as Riley said earlier, it's like the good old days where you get 50% off on a book. At the end of every month, we give away a In-Stock Trades gift card worth $50. We just gave away one last night. This is something awesome where a viewer just has to type in whatever we say type in, and the randomizer picks the name out, and you get a $50 credit. That's pretty awesome.
You get a $50 credit.
You get a $50 credit. I don't get a $50 credit, but you guys do. Speaking of $50 or more in an order gets you free shipping in the United States. Fabulous customer service, fabulous packaging. That's in stocktrades.com. Let me see if I can do Cashmere. Oh, I should have started lower.
I need to get mine so I can do I'll do the like ding, 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 ding.
That would be perfect.
Ding,
You're the one that got me started on the whole mouth harp thing again. Where is yours? Do you know?
I don't remember. I had it somewhere and I don't know where I put it up.
Find it so we can do Cashmere. That would probably drive people away from the show, but you and I would dig it.
I think maybe the better idea would be to like record it and mash it together, because like the microphone seems to cut other people off when someone's talking. So like I feel like if one of us is twanging away like on our harp, it's probably gonna cut off the other.
We can have Geo mash it together.
I'll try and find it, but so where I've cut off for today, and like I'll try and make more notes to complete this Batman excuse me list as far as just mapping out omnibus editions for Batman and Detective Comics during the rest of the New 52 Rebirth and beyond. So I'll try and do that so that I can talk about, stuff like, Tom King, James Tynion, or Tinian, however he
What
says
was
his
the
name.
Bill Willingham omnibus? Has he written a lot of Batman that could be
That
omni-
was Robin.
Oh, Robin.
It was
Okay.
a Robin hardcover. I don't think it was actually titled as an omnibus, but it was big enough to be one that was all of Willingham's material, and it got, I guess, canceled at some point, which is pretty upsetting because um
So
I
it was
want
supposed to be collected, but it didn't
yeah,
get collected.
yeah. I
Okay.
just that like at the bottom of the notes is what Jess is referring to. I have a section where I'm like, I break down just basically the runs of Robin and Nightwing by different creators that I could see like how those could break down into omnis.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, I mentioned the oversized hardcovers that I don't have, which if anyone has copies they'd like to provide to me, uh, the
Which one?
Arkham Asylum Living Hell Deluxe Edition, Year 100 and Other Tales Deluxe Edition, and Ego and Other Tales. That's the one that pisses me off because like I thought for whatever
Oh,
reason that Ego and Other Tales was in the Catwoman omnibus, and so I think I had something with it in there, but I never bought the deluxe is the point, and so I passed on it and never got it. I remember seeing it so many times, having it in hand, like literally physically, and then not buying it. And now I'm like, God damn it, it's out of print.
I feel like I have all the stories already, though. I feel like,
You
don't I?
probably do. You
Some,
probably have those,
but not collected in this one format. That's all Darwin Cook.
Ego and I think so, but that like those are three that exist. I just don't have them.
Yeah, Year 100. That's Paul Pope,
Yeah,
and Arkham Asylum Living Hell.
Paul Pope I don't have because he kind of got into some trouble, and so I just didn't buy it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I
and I
bought
was like,
that years ago.
I'm not, because it was around the time. It was like it came out, and I passed on it, and then like around that same time, was when that came out. I was like, I'll go ahead and
Oh,
continue to pass on this.
I'm not
I'm not,
familiar with that one, but I'll
not in the
see
books.
in all of I search, I'm still searching, so I'll look for you to see if I can get any of those. I wasn't aware that those were all out of print, but I will.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
going to
probably
do my
other.
boy Riley a solid and look for those.
There's probably others that are out of print. I have everything else. Like I went through what I believe was like a full check, like a complete checklist of every Batman oversized hardcover, and I was like, I have everything except for these, and then I bought like most of what I didn't have for super cheap because they were available for super cheap, and then these were the ones that were remaining. The only thing that like this isn't counting like other characters, so not like Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl, Harley Quinn, like it doesn't count those. Um, so like Robin year one, Nightwing year one, Batgirl year one. I don't have those, but I wasn't like I have them in other formats.
Oh, those are such good books. Those
Yeah,
three.
especially Robin and Batgirl.
Yeah. You don't
Uh,
have those in OHC?
no, I had the paperback that has both of them in one.
Oh yeah. Those I love that book. The Robin and Batgirl stories. I mean, Nightwing's pretty good, but Robin and Batgirl are awesome good. Year one.
Yeah, the art is just freaking phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, I need to go check on my
All right,
dog and Riley. Where can they find you on social media?
Mija. Here on
As
YouTube, the Omnibus
Heidi Klum
Collector.
says. What's that? TikTok? Something?
Yeah, TikTok. I made a video just today about the El Muerte movie that we're having coming out soon. Mr.
Who's Bad Bunny? I
Yeah,
don't even know. I'm so
Bad
old.
Bunny playing El Muerte, the most exciting character that's only had literally two appearances in comics ever.
I don't
Uh,
even know who El Muerte is. I don't know who Bad Bunny is. I don't know
he
any of
actually
them.
was created by Peter David. He was introduced in issue 6 of Peter David's Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man run that came out around like the time of the Civil War era of stuff. So
Mm.
Spidey was wearing the Iron Spider costume.
Oh, cool.
And his storyline was 2 issues, issue 6 and 7, and that's it. And he's never appeared since.
And they're making a whole movie of him,
Giving him a whole ass movie with Bad Bunny.
starring somebody that Lou says is the biggest talent, biggest
He
star in the
was
world.
the most streamed musical artist of I think 2020 and 2021 with like 8 point something million streams in 2020 and 9.1 million in 2021 or something like that. So he's huge. He is rather large of a uh, musical artist, but I don't particularly listen to his work. Not that I have anything against it, but I don't really listen to his work. He's acted a few times, and now he's getting the lead role in this. I've seen people say like that it's just Sony just wanted to give Bad Bunny a role in something, and so they found something that might match for him because
Bad Bunny.
he's a huge wrestling fan. So they found like, a Latino character from the comics, from a Spider-Man comic that they can throw him in to the role so he can have his own thing. But I wouldn't be surprised if it got canceled because there's so many Sony like Spider-Man projects that have gotten canceled. The
Oh, I didn't know
from
that.
Yeah, there was a movie called Silver and Black is probably the most notorious one. It was going to be Silver Sable teaming up with Black Cat. Um, Kind of in relation to that, there was a movie called Glass Ceiling, which was going to be the two of them, and as well a bunch of other like female Spider Verse type characters teaming up together. There's, I feel at one point, I couldn't find confirmation for this, but I feel at one point like there was a movie announced that was going to be a spin-off of like Richard and Mary Parker, like when whatever they were up to that like was alluded to in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, like they were spies or whatever storyline that they
Oh,
kind of did in the comics, but they like hinted at it in Amazing Spider-Man 2 but didn't get to expand on it. Of course Amazing Spider-Man 3 and 4 were canned. The Sinister Six movie was canned, and an Aunt May movie was supposed to happen, and that got
with Marissa Tomei.
no, it would have been with what was it, Sally Field, I guess,
Oh. Okay.
or at least an actor playing a younger version of Sally Field's version of Aunt May.
I would be up for a Marissa Tomei Aunt May movie, like immediately.
Yeah, I think a lot of people might be.
Ooh, your eyes are blue again.
What if they did the well, I guess because I turned the light on, it
Oh,
reflected. What if they did the like Mark Miller's Trouble storyline, but with, are you familiar with that?
wait, I feel like I've read it. What
It
trouble?
was Mark Miller and was it Eminem? No, it was Dodson, Terry Dodson did the artwork. Mark Miller and Terry Dodson, and it was like a storyline where there's a two couples, and the couples kind of like get involved with each other and trade off partners, and their
Oh,
names are Richard, Mary, Ben, and May.
oh,
And like basically May sleeps with Richard, and like she has his baby, but then gives the baby back. I think that's what it was. Gives it to Richard and May, or Richard and Mary Parker, and like they name him Peter. So it's like it was supposed to be his kind of like secret origin of Peter Parker's illegitimate birth or
what?
something.
What? This
Yeah.
this was a Marvel comic or like a? Image comic.
It was Marvel. It was published by Marvel. It's under, I think it was under the Epic line.
Oh my gosh, I don't think I've read that.
It's not canon. Like, it very much was not canon. And it's one of the most notoriously just bad comics that ever happened from Marvel, and like people just absolutely just hate it. It's bad. You can look it up and see, like, synopses of the plot and stuff, and just kind of be like, what the fuck is this?
My doggy needs to go out, so I'm gonna let her out real quick.
Well, I gotta take care of my dog as well, so I'll leave y'all on the note of trouble my Mark Miller.
And you can find me, OmniDog, on OmniDog's Vault on YouTube, OmniDogs_Vault on Instagram. Thank you to everybody who was watching. And I couldn't get to the chat because I was so busy teeing up all the covers that I needed to show. I was like a DJ grabbing records for the next spin. But peace and love. Thank you to everybody who watched. And we appreciate it. We'll see you again tomorrow night, Thursday night, and Friday night on the makeup week of April. So peace and love. We love you all so very much. Thank you and good night.